Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and this is a podcast dedicated to you, helping individuals start and build successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax businesses. It's here in these episodes that we have on the experts to help us actually focus on the things that matter so that we can actually offer quality accounting services and get paid what we're worth. So today's going to be no exception. I've got on here someone that I'm very excited to have on the show. It's Diana Lidstone. She is a best-selling author, award-winning speaker, and podcast host. Diana has been an entrepreneur for almost 40 years. She is known in her world as someone who does straight talk, no BS, and the simple business and marketing strategies that bring her clients more joy, profit, and freedom. So her podcast, Work Less, Profit More, is basically for businesses. It offers tips and strategies for small firm owners who are tired of working too hard for too little profit and no life. So Diana, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Roger, for having me. This is great.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. So first of all, obviously you're not an accountant, but just real quickly share, what is it that you do with or for accountants?
Well, like you said, I'm not an accountant, a bookkeeper. I'm not a numbers cruncher. However, as a business owner for almost 40 years, I have hired many accountants and bookkeepers, and I see similar problems that they come up with each and every time. And, much like you see their problems and they're consistent across the board. They very often are working with too many clients for too little money. And so I help them. Really, the biggest sweet spot that I work with them is to how can they simplify their business so they can scale it and so that they can, have more fun in their business, more profit, and more freedom.
I love it. I'm going to go first to fun. I think I like to think I'm a fun guy. So fun, when you bring that up to people as you're talking about your services and how they should have fun in their business, what do people think when you start with fun? I mean, I'm going to work. I mean, am I really supposed to have fun here?
Yes, they are. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure your listeners did not start a business to be an overworked, stressed out workaholic. And or having, health challenges or relationship challenges. But starting a firm, starting a business can often lead to those. And you know what? I want to have fun in life, and you can design your business with your lifestyle that you want to have in mind, and so that you can have fun. And the other thing is, I think that what is fun for you might be different that's fun for me. So, for instance, I'm speaking this weekend at a real estate investing conference. And the guy who has this community, fun for him at this stage in his life is being a road warrior, traveling all across North America. I've been there, done that. That's not fun for me right now. So I think for each of us, we have to decide at our stages of business and at our stages of life, what is fun.
I like that. Well, first of all, I like the fact that you're inviting us to determine and define that for ourselves. Right now, I'm back into the road warrior stage. For years,
Yeah.
I was traveling as many as 40 plus weekends a year. I was on the road quite a bit and I enjoyed it. I made the most of it. Got to bring my family along for a lot of it. So I made the most of it. And I was, very blessed in all of that. Coincidentally, I'm getting back into that phase where I'm being asked to speak at various events. I'm attending various conferences. And in that context, I'm traveling a lot more this year than I've done in a number of recent years. Just recently got back from London. So, I mean, the travel is extensive, but I like it. I have fun with it. So I'm glad you're emphasizing the word fun. So the next question is profit. Obviously, some businesses, we as accounting professionals, like everyone else that's our client, we're working hard, we're making money, but are we keeping it? So how do you emphasize profit?
Oh, yeah. Profit is so important. Revenue is the money. I'm talking to accountants. They know what revenue is. It's the money that comes in. But the profit, that's the money you get to keep or invest or reinvest or, build the lifestyle that you want. I think there's a huge difference. And, truth of the matter is, I've spoken to many accountants who really aren't clear, hard to believe, but they aren't clear on what their profit levels are. They're good to do it for someone else, but it's kind of like the cobbler's children.
Yeah, no, I've had this conversation with many
Oh,
accounting professionals. So I can ask them, what's your cost per acquisition? How much does it cost for you to acquire a client? They know it for their clients. They don't know it for themselves. What's your lifetime value of a client? Well, they'll know that for their clients, but they don't know it for themselves. What's your break-even point? They'll know it for their clients, but they don't know it for themselves. What's your ROI? How much of the money that you're bringing in as net revenue is actually trickling down from total income through expenses to net profit? I mean, at the end of the day, they sometimes just don't know these key numbers, but they know them for their clients. And so I think your
yeah.
point is very valid. But here's the one thing that I think is very interesting is you and I'm sure, have worked with many a company that's very busy, bringing in a lot of revenue, but they, behind closed doors, once they're in a safe environment, admit, I'm not making as much as I
Oh,
thought I
no.
would.
Yeah.
I'm not as profitable as I thought I might be. There's something wrong with my process, my system to ensure that I'm being profitable. So what do you say to that?
Well, interesting. I think you brought up two words, processes and systems. So, they don't have those.
Yeah.
Those are non existent or can be non existent. And, I think the best example that I can share with you, it wasn't an accountant firm, but it was a lawyer. So they work very similarly, right? They, have they're an expert. They have a small firm. They go out and they deliver their expertise. And this lawyer said to me, when she came to me, she was not profitable. She was paying her bills, but there was no extra money to hire additional staff, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
so I know that for the clients that I have worked with time and time again, the way to build profit quickly is to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. And whether that is to niche down or specialize, whatever word you want to use, that is typically it. But it doesn't happen solo. You have to build the processes and whatever with it, because when you become a specialist, you become more efficient and proficient, and you can also charge more. So this particular lawyer went from, very marginal profits, we'll say, to explosive profits. And then she took her year end to her accountant. And he looked at her figures and said, "What the heck have you done?" And she said, "Well, I hired Diana." And he said, "Well, give me her phone number." And he has since become a client. So
Beautiful.
yeah, it is a combination. And I say, you can never, it's never one thing at a time to take a business from one spot to another. It's always like a Rubik's Cube. There's things that work together.
Yeah. So I appreciated you earlier kind of honing in on when I said processes and workflows. I do agree. A lot of us actually love what we do to the point that we work a lot and we work very hard. We're just not very efficient. And
Mm.
if you can put into place processes, systems, it allows you the ability to then later delegate and then have other
Mhm.
people do them. So there's a lot to be said about that. I'm very much a very, very big proponent of it. The one thing that I have as a mantra is you, first of all, need to document. Once you've documented it, you can then duplicate it where you actually have somebody else do it. And once you get them proficient at it, you can then delegate it. You can give them the autonomy and the responsibilities associated with it. So in that three-step process, I do find that people find liberation. It doesn't have to be me and it doesn't have to always be what I do. How do you deal with the people that you're working with that are clients where they do have that opinion of, if it's not done by me, it's not going to be done right. If you want it done
Ooh.
right, you got to do it yourself. That kind of thing where they're reluctant to have other people do it. Or, and this is part of the same question, or they're of the opinion that my clients are paying because they want access to me, when in reality, we need to educate them as to the process and the deliverable. What are your thoughts about all of this?
Yeah, good. See it as two questions. So the first one was, nobody can do it as well as I can.
Yeah.
And I go, sorry, but that's an excuse. That's an excuse that you haven't created the right processes and documents so that they can do it with minimal training. And I really firmly believe in that. And, maybe there's somebody that you didn't hire right. Maybe they haven't got the skill to do it. But if they have the basic skill, if you give them the processes, they should be able to turn out the work. The second part of the question, or the second question, you said, they want access to me, as the professional or as the expert. And I think that's, if I can say it, kind of training your clients or your customers to what are they actually paying for? And if they're
Yeah.
paying for you, then it's going to be a higher price as if they were paying for, I'll use the word clerk, right? So there's a difference and I recently read something. It was, if they're paying for me, that's the $1,000 an hour. If they're paying for a clerk, that's $100 an hour. Now I'm just using these, as
Yeah.
ideas. If it's an online course, then maybe it's $50. Or if it's my book, then it's $5. So there's different ways to access your expertise.
I like that. No, it's good. I think the illustration of you can have access to me as an individual, or you can access my processes through the team that I've created, or you can access my wealth of information that I've written in a course or in a book. And, all those things have different costs associated with them. So I like that analogy. That was really good. The thing I would add to it is it's a priority to manage the client's expectations. If we
Yes.
can, through the onboarding process and through the client interchange and experience, manage those expectations, then we don't have to believe that we're shortchanging them or denying them what we thought they may have bought, because we've clearly identified this is what we're doing. You're paying me for this deliverable, this process, and if you want access to me 24/7, my phone number, it's going to cost you. So you can then do your tiered pricing, your menu pricing. Yeah, I love this.
Exactly.
This is all good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So here's my next question for you, and it's regarding work less. I mean, obviously, you've got within your podcast title, Work Less. I'm a workaholic. I love what I do. Okay. And so in my idle time, I don't mind working. When I pick up my cell phone, I'm not playing a game. I'm checking emails. I'm responding to things. I'm engaging with my clients. That's what I like to do. So workaholic, I embrace it because I enjoy what I do and I get paid well for it. But I do know that sometimes I neglect my family, my friends, and so I have to be conscious of that. And my way of doing it is very specific. We can talk about it. It's being present. But I want to talk about what your thought is when someone comes to you and you say work less, and I come to you and I say, that matters to me. Help me. What can I do? Why do I work so much? What do you say about that?
Well, I think there's, again, a couple of things in that question. I think, you made or you are consciously making a choice to check your phone or to be the workaholic, right? It's a
Yeah.
conscious choice as opposed to, oh my God, it's got to get done. So I think there's a difference there. So I'm at the stage of my life where I've made the choice for me that I want to work 3 days a week. That's working less for me.
Hmm.
So, I'm getting ready to go to this conference. I only found out like 7 days ago. So I had a little bit of hustle to get done, to get ready. But last night I was out on our boat on the water. It was a beautiful evening. I made that choice that I don't have to be constantly hustling all the time. And I think what I see in clients who come to me is they don't know how to, well, there's a couple of things. They don't know how to set boundaries, is one thing. So they don't know how to say no, big word. Um, don't know how to close their doors to stop interruptions. They don't know how to teach their staff or their team to not constantly interrupt so that they can actually get some work done. And they don't know how to prioritize the important tasks that they have to do. So, actually, on my podcast this week, I launched a 5-part series, a 5-part workshop series on my podcast. So, every day we dropped a podcast episode. And it
Okay.
was all about focus and freedom. How can you regain 10 hours a week in your agenda? Now, that's a lot for some people. Actually, on Friday, I'll share that if I calculated it all up, it was 28 hours or 26 hours a week if they implemented everything I shared. But they very often don't understand what tasks in their business are the most valuable tasks to move the needle forward in their business.
I like this. You've actually said a mouthful there in the sense that I've got a few things that I'd like to address. Um, First of all, thank you for identifying that what I'm defining as my being a workaholic is a choice. I don't
Yeah,
feel pressure. I
exactly.
don't feel as if I'm being compelled to do things I'm not wanting or able to do, or don't have time to do. I'm choosing in certain situations, this is what I'd rather do. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there's a lot going on there. So, yes, I think that's one healthy part. Where I find that I'm trying to check that is obviously, am I neglecting others and am I neglecting other responsibilities? And as I find that I do not meet those needs, I then adjust and I adapt and I obviously try and address those things. So that's fine. But the thing that I think you were bringing up there that's very important to realize is we have to be conscious of these things, correct? We've got to
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
mindfulness. It's
Yeah.
mindfulness about it. So when you're working with your clients, what advice do you have to them as to work-life balance? Do you have any thoughts regarding that word balance? It's not my favorite word,
No.
but people do choose to use it. For lack of a better word, I'll ask, balance. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an oxymoron, but
Yeah.
it's individual. And so for me, when I'm working with clients, we most often start with what is it they want to accomplish? What is their vision for themselves, their lives, and their business in 3 to 5 years? And we get really clear on, okay, if you only want to work 4 days a week and you want to take 8 weeks vacation and you want to be home to pick up your kids after school, okay, that means you have so many hours a week to dedicate to your business. And we reverse engineer from there.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So that's one thing.
No, that was great advice. I like the reverse engineering component. That's, I think, a great way of assessing what you're doing because I use a very similar process with my time management. Time management is I go through and identify what are the things that I feel are essential that I need to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And
Right.
I prioritize those. And then before my year begins, I go put those on the calendar as to where they need to appear,
Perfect.
especially as recurring events. And so I don't let my life influence my day. I prioritize, I'm going to have this day with my children. I'm going to do this activity with my friends. I'm going to do this activity. And I put those on the calendar and then everything else gets worked around them. So
I love it.
it's time
Yeah.
management is how I would
Yeah.
address this reverse engineering that you're talking about.
Yeah. And if I'm working with a client and we're looking just like you, if you're looking at the year, like people do in December or the beginning of January, I said the first things you put on your calendar are your vacation and your family things that you
Hmm.
want to attend, and then go from there. Another thing that I really stress for people who have trouble finding time to work on their business versus in their business,
Okay.
right? So, working on your business is what is going to drive your business forward. How do you get momentum, traction? How do you build those SOPs? What is it that you're going to be doing to drive your business forward? So I say, if you can, at least in your calendar, block off half an hour every day. So if you're a morning person, you block off half an hour first thing in the morning. And that is what I call your CEO time. That is your time to look at your business, what needs to be done, future, what's a project or part of a project that you can complete in half an hour. And, people think, well, Diana, that's only half an hour. But I go, half an hour, 5 times a week, that's 2.5 hours times 4 weeks is, I don't know, you're the mathematician. What is it, 10 hours? Yeah. Uh, so it really adds up. But
It does add
half
up.
an hour a day as CEO time really can make a huge difference to being the CEO of your business, not just the kind of the employer or the doer.
Well, you're a little bit more lenient than I am. I asked for
So,
an
well,
hour a day. That's
I do, but sometimes we have to start small.
Yeah, yeah. So in my mind, an hour is good time spent. Anything less than that, that's great if you can get it done. But my point is it takes a little bit of time to kind of get situated and settled and focused and start whatever you're doing. And then if you know you've only got the hour, there comes a time at the end where you're going to unwind, you're going to wrap things up, you're going to get situated so you can kind of close the project or whatever you're doing. So it's not really an hour worth of work. It's like a half hour work in the hour of time because you got 15 minutes at the front end that you're perhaps kind of getting situated, sit
Yes.
down, logging in, you're opening it up, you're refreshing your mind as to where you were with things. And then at the end, it's kind of like, oh, I got to wrap this up. I got to save it. I got to do. So really it's a half hour of work in an hour. And I'm
Right.
oversimplifying, but my point is I try and do things in no less than half hour chunks, but I do ask of my people that I work with an hour commitment at a minimum on a daily basis. And there you go. So that's what we do. All right. So I know you refer to this as the $1 million question. Tell me about this.
Well, it's kind of a little story that I was in an airport flying somewhere on vacation. And when I'm in an airport waiting for a flight, I like to go to the bookstore because I'm a
Oh,
bit of
wow.
a book junkie.
Okay.
So anyway, I saw this book and the title jumped out at me. And the title was 5 Simple Words. Why should I choose you? And much to my husband's chagrin, I bought a business book and took it on holidays with me. But anyway, it changed the way I work with my own business and it changed the way I work with my clients because those simple 5 words, why should I choose you, are really what every prospect is saying. Why should I hire you against your competition? Why should I open your email? Why should you do my books? Is it safe? Or can I trust you? Do I like you? Do I trust myself to work with you? And it affects every part of your business. It can affect your marketing and your lead generation, but also your HR in terms of hiring. Why should an employee come to work with you? Same question. And if you don't know the answer to that question as the business owner, then your success can suffer.
This is great because coincidentally, just this morning I was doing a training, and in the training I asked of the audience the question, why do your customers pay you? So that was the
Okay.
question I posed. Why do they
Yeah.
pay you?
Yeah.
And it was an interesting dialogue because it comes down to a variety of things. Some people are paying you because you're a unique selling proposition, something special that you offer as a product or service. It could be the relationship that they have, the access to you individually. I mean, the answers were diverse, but the point is at the end of the day, why are people taking their money and giving it to you? And I like how you just framed it in this book. This is exactly what we need to be asking ourselves as we're considering, why do customers pay us for the services we provide? And I think we need to sit back and really kind of digest, okay, why are these people picking me over anyone else? Why are they doing
Right.
business with us over anyone else?
Yeah. And in today's world where, I think it's so different post COVID than pre COVID because really competition is worldwide today, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so in this overloaded information, global economy, why should someone choose your accounting firm over the accounting firm that's down the road, next door,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in a different city, maybe it's even in a different province because people can work like that today.
Yep.
So, it's really, really important I say, to differentiate your firm. So I say it's 3 steps. You've got to be different so you can get noticed, so you can get chosen.
Nice. Say that again. Say it again for my audience.
Okay. So you need to be different so you can get noticed, so you can get chosen.
Beautiful.
And I tell a story of, it's actually my own personal story, but I'm going to tell it on stage in third party. This young girl goes off to university, and I'm going to shorten it here. She notices this guy, and she notices him because this is think back to 1970. You and I can probably remember that, but it's the it's the time when the U.S. invaded Cambodia. Avocado appliances were important. It was a long time ago. So anyway, she notices this guy, and he's wearing a tie. Nobody at university during those days wore a tie. So it's the story of the guy with the tie. She notices him because he's different. And then she gets, he's different, he gets noticed, and eventually the story goes, they get married, have 2 kids, and they're still married. So it's a story of being different to get noticed, to get chosen.
I like that. And it's a very appropriate story. That's very good. All right. So now you spoke earlier, or referenced this 5-step blueprint. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. I call it your authority visibility blueprint. And I use it in, to various depths, you could say, with private clients or in a group program. And the first is your vision. You've got to have your vision, because your vision acts like your GPS and keeps you from all those bright, shiny objects that distract you. Number 2 is you've got to differentiate. And I teach my clients there's 7 different ways you can differentiate, but one of the easiest and most common is to specialize or to niche down. Number 3 is to have your own thought leadership. And accountants are probably listening and going, well, I don't have a thought leadership. Well, I can tell you that you do, because each person thinks differently about the problem that they want to solve. And I've worked with hundreds of different types of businesses and business owners, and they all think differently. Now, if we can pull that thought leadership out of their head, put it on paper, create some sort of graphic, then they will have created their own intellectual property, just like you have. And that intellectual property is another differentiator. So vision, specialize or differentiate, thought leadership. And the fourth is what I call the marketing sweet spot. Not everybody should be marketing exactly the same way. So you have your podcast. I might guess that you do a lot of speaking, and that for you generates strategic alliances and it generates leads. Would that be about right?
Yeah, that is a good summation of, you get out there, you become public, people start to notice you, they start to respect you, they start to be interested in you, and ultimately they're going to follow you and perhaps reach out.
Right. So that's your marketing sweet spot. So it's a combination of what you're really good at and your ideal client. So I work with each individual to figure out what is their marketing sweet spot. What is the best way for them to market? So it's sort of customizable. And the last piece is the offers. So what do your offers look like? And how can you simplify your offers so that, we've talked about this, it becomes a system, you set expectations for your clients, et cetera, et cetera.
So those 5 steps, is there one that a business owner struggles with more than others? Is there one of those 5 that they're not as eager or able to implement as you would like?
I think vision is one of the hardest.
Okay.
Because in my experience, they go, yeah, I know what I want to build. And I go, but are you specific about it? And are you really clear about it? And they go, well, I want to make X amount of money. Okay, but how? What does your team look like? Can you close your eyes and actually paint a picture of it? That is very often one of the most difficult things, because they're so caught up in the day-to-day running of their business.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because like you, I do what I refer to as engage and manifest. And when I do that, I typically find that I'm asking questions of the business owner that they've never answered or shared with anyone else.
Yeah.
And so in their head, they appear to have these conversations in their own mind. They talk to themselves, they go through these things. But as I ask questions, they typically find themselves sharing things that they've never really divulged to anyone else. Not that they were secrets, it's just nobody's been curious or interested in asking. And so they've never had anyone to really talk to about it. And so
Yeah.
as you start to get into this, the vision as you're describing it really becomes kind of exciting for them. Somebody wants to hear about it and they get a little bit more excited about what they're doing and what they're talking about. But all of a sudden you start to tap into their why, as some people like to refer to it.
Yep.
And you're having a conversation like you're describing that's not as common as the other four things that you mentioned.
Yeah. And I think one of the things about the vision is finding that piece that they get excited about that they can also share with their team so that their team gets excited and their team has a buy-in. The team has a purpose now. They go, oh, this is why we're working so hard. And if you can take that even further and get the team members to say, okay, what is my little piece of making that vision come to life? Then you've got real buy-in and real retention.
I love how you use that because I refer to it as being contagious. If they
Mhm.
bring that passion to the business, it is contagious. I think their
For
customers
sure.
are drawn to that same
Yes.
energy. I believe their employees are drawn to and feed off of that energy, which is also very important to realize because if and when the business owner becomes unmotivated and they can't tap into that energy, everyone else has nothing else to draw upon and it becomes very noticeable. So I like this very important part because I too find that this is so key to understand because when business owners struggle, this is what they have to tap into and dive into. And if it's not very clear in their own mind as to why they're doing this, they have no vision. You can't tap into anything.
Yeah, and it can't be clear to their team, and they wonder why. I just had somebody the other day who said, "Oh, these millennials, they just don't want to work." And I go, "No, I didn't say this, but I felt like saying, no, you haven't given them a why."
That's fair. That's very fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So with regards to all of this, and I appreciate your 5-step blueprint. That was really good. Why is it that so many experts have trouble reaching and really kind of experiencing the success they desire?
One of my favorite topics. So I'll call it the sea of sameness. And
Okay.
so experts go out there, doesn't matter, it could be accountants, lawyers, I'll say financial advisors. Okay. How many of your listeners have gone to a networking event where there's like 5 financial advisors and they all say exactly the same thing? You look at their websites, you could just change out the name and, it would all be the same. The sea of sameness. And so experts build their business. They go out, they deliver their services the same way everybody else in their industry does. And then they go out there and say, oh, yeah, I need clients. So I'm going to market. And they market exactly the same way using the same language that everybody else in their industry does. And that's the problem. They are not differentiating themselves in the marketplace. They are not doing anything that's disruptive. They're not talking about the problem that their clients have in a different way. It just all sounds the same.
I'm loving this. So, how, as accounting professionals, should we sound different? You're a business owner. You've been doing this for 40 years. What advice would you have to us as accounting professionals as we meet with you, the business owner? What are we missing?
Yeah, well, what you're missing is kind of those 5 steps and differentiating. I think one of the biggest things is creating your own thought leadership. And I'll say it again. A lawyer that I've been working with for a number of years, when I asked her, why should clients choose you? She said, well, we do law differently. And I said, well, what does that mean? And she couldn't explain it. Well, we now have a graphic. It's actually looks like a puzzle.
Okay.
And it is her thoughts about how the process that she goes through with her clients. And people look at that graphic, that diagram, and they go, oh, I get it. So that's what you do. And I mean, really, accountants are no different, right? Each accountant or accounting firm probably looks at they have different clients, they have different maybe they solve a different problem, maybe they're different specialists. But if they can create their own thought leadership and turn that into a graphic, people look at it and go, oh, now I get what you do.
I love this. I also agree to visualize something, to take something that is abstract. Maybe it's it's a thought, maybe it's a statement, but now visualize that. And I think a lot of people are visual. I'm visual. And so if I can see what you're talking about, I can better understand what we're working towards, working on, and so forth. So I like that explanation. That was really good. I appreciate that. Here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to go ahead and kind of summarize our conversation that I've really enjoyed here. And in doing so, come back to you for a closing thought. Now, before I go further, I do want to have everyone listening here understand that Diana's put together 2 great gifts that you can go to the episode description and receive. The first is it's a downloadable checklist, the 7 ways to differentiate your brand. So you want to go to the episode description and get that there. She also has a 12-week program that you can learn on basically how you can implement these things in your business and follow this 5-step process that she was alluding to as the blueprint. So if you want more information about that, go to the episode description and find out more information there, how you can leverage these things in your business. And then likewise, in the episode description, you're going to find there the turnkey business plan for accounting professionals. It is the step-by-step process to help you actually work on your business and most importantly, identify the things that you need to be doing to become the premier accounting firm in your area. So go to the episode description and take advantage of those things that are listed and offered there for you as our listeners. Now, as a summary of our conversation, I've got to start, first of all, with what we were discussing at the beginning. I love the fact that we brought fun right to the forefront. We were having this conversation about why we just should enjoy what we do and build our business around what it is that we want to prioritize. And in Diana's case, a 3-day work week. In my case, I've got travel going on. It's just, what is it that you want to actually incorporate so that you can look forward to and enjoy the work that you're doing? The second thing was profit. Excellent conversation about profit. I think all too often what we're doing is we're working very, very hard and we're just kind of crossing our fingers and hoping at the end, is there something left over for me and the business? And we really need to be a lot more deliberate and intentional about the profit that we're earning. The other part of this was the work less. I shared that I'm a workaholic, but I also enjoy what I do. And she was clear to point out that these are things that we need to be intentional about. We talked about balance, what that really looks like, and it's kind of like a distraction of what we're really trying to achieve here. It's not balance. It's really, I think, being purposeful in the lives that we're living. And so I thought that was a great conversation. We also went into being differentiating our services, kind of being unique or different, the 5 blueprint steps, having vision, purpose with what we're working on. All of these things were excellent things that we needed to basically address or hear today. So I appreciate all of those topics and encourage everyone, if you want to, go back and re-listen to this because it was a wonderful discussion. So Diana, what is a closing thought that you'd like to leave with?
Yeah, I would just, listeners, ask yourself, why did you start your business? Why did you start your business? And if you started it because you wanted some type of freedom, whether it was time or money, then get really clear on what that is, get clear, get specific, and then reverse engineer what it is to build your business so that you get what you want.
I love it. Begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey would say. It's beautiful.
Exactly.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do then. I'm going to wrap this up by, first of all, thanking everyone for listening. If you haven't already subscribed, definitely do so. We'd love to have you kind of get notified of these various episodes that we release each and every week. We would also like to invite you to go back and listen to the previous episodes. There's a number there that you can go back and binge listen to. We've created some highlight lists that you can take advantage of, playlists that are basically capturing a cluster of various topics that you can dive into. You can go to universalaccounting.com and there in the podcast section, actually find the highlights that we've gathered together of the various experts on topics ranging from marketing, selling, mindset, just a variety of things that I'm sure you'll be interested in that you can dive into. The other part that we wanted to point out is we have GrowCon. GrowCon is an annual conference for accounting professionals. We invite you to register and join us. It's here on the stage that we bring the experts to help us work on our business. You get to meet and interact with your peers, other individuals that are doing exactly like you, whether they be ahead of you in their business model or behind you. We all help one another. And then lastly, you get to meet our team here at Universal Accounting Center, all those individuals that are dedicated to help you work in your business, but not simply be alone. So we refer to it as the phrase of being in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And then lastly, with regards to these principles and concepts, if you'd like more information about them and other things, feel free to reach out to us. You can contact us directly at Universal Accounting by contacting us online at universalaccountingschool.com or over the phone at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care and have a great day.